What's going on YouTube? Cloverwell here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be going over the Toronto Regionals in its entirety. So pretty good turnout for this one, 700 plus players. All the snow over the weekend did not stop them from coming into Canada to play VGC Regulation F, and it was a good one. First place went to Cary D'Ortona, so congratulations to Cary. And it wasn't really just him as well, you know, some credit goes to the team building group with Patrick Connors and also Connor P. They had a pretty cool picture at the regional here. Now, Connor P was a senior that took first place with the same team, so congratulations to them, masters and seniors, grabbing the victory here. So as always, like we do with our recap videos, we're going to go over the usage rates for phase 1 and phase 2, make some good sense of the data, and then we'll transition over to Lab Mouse to take a look at the top teams and the cores from Top Cut. And then from there, we're going to look at some interesting niche Pokemon, which is always our favorite part of the video, because we always like the niche options here, because these are options that, you know, maybe not too many people consider or have difficulty making work. But anytime they're able to do well at a region, we always like to shine the light on them and give them their due flowers. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the data and let's see the usage rates. All right, so here we are at the phase 1 data, and honestly, no surprise with any of this. Flutter Mane at number 1, Raging Bolt at number 2, Urshifu Rapid Strike at 3, Incineroar at number 4. Honestly, the first 4 Pokemon, no surprise. That's also where I had them. They may flip-flop, you know, throughout the format, of course, but either way, these are the 4 best options. You know, again, Flutter Mane being that super strong, aggressive, yet supportive special attacker in the format. And then Raging Bolt, again, arguably the best mod in the format with priority Thunderclaps. And of course, you know, your Dragon Stab moves and a bunch of other support moves like Electro Web and Snarl and whatnot. And the Assault Vest with the Raging Bolt, you know, combined with Intimidate support just makes it so that it's a pretty hard Pokemon to break. And then, of course, you always have the occasional Calm Mind sets with the Fake Out ideas and redirection support. Urshifu Rapid Strike, again, you know, nothing else needs to be said here. Surging Strikes, critting every time, you know, bypassing Protect, thanks to Unseen Fist. Incineroar, of course, the go-to VGC as always, you know, just bouncing around in the field, mitigating damage, you know, cycling Fake Out, cycling Intimidates, you know, using your parting shots or U-turns if you got the Assault Vest set. And then Ogerpon Wellspring, again, a pretty good counter into the Surging Strikes Urshifu. And, you know, it's always good to see both Ogerpons, you know, you can see the fire one on the screen come back into competitive Pokemon, because these are pretty good Pokemon. I like them. And then you have the 2 Genies here, Landorus and Tornadus here. Again, Landorus really strong into Raging Bolt. You have Electric Immunity, also pretty strong into Incineroar. It's weak to ground type coverage, of course. And then the Ogerpon Heartflame, just a strong, aggressive fire type that you could use, especially when you combine it with the likes of Chenpao that you see on the screen. You have the option to Terra the Ogerpon to give it an attack boost. And then, of course, don't forget about Molt Breaker shenanigans. Then you've got Rillaboom and Amoonguss here, the other grass types rounding out the end part of the graphic here. I don't think I've ever seen Rillaboom so low in a top 12 graphic here. It's usually very high usage, but, you know, given the circumstances of the format, given that, you know, things are having options against the Ogerpons as well as, you know, flying type coverage, poison coverage, the Rillaboom takes a hit a little bit. And then Amoonguss is still very good to have on your team, especially when you couple it with the Incineroar there for your defensive backbone, right? Intimidate, Parting Shot, Redirection support, Sleep Status with Spore, right? And then for Rigraff, again, also very good in this format, just because look at all the priority that you see on your screen, right? How many Fake Outs do you see? Aqua Jet, Thunderclap, Sucker Punch, right? Prankster moves from the Tornadus, of course. So Rigraff, definitely very much appreciated in this type of meta there. And it can also be aggressive, right, with the Throat Spray set. And then just going for like hard-hitting Psychic moves, which is pretty good into the Urshifu itself. So that's also something to be, you know, looking at. And then, again, you have the option to click Trick Room against a lot of the Tailwind stuff running around, which, again, just makes the Rigraff a little bit more threatening, right? So that's your top 12 graphic. But then if we go into phase 2, right, a little bit of a flip-flop there, right? You got Urshifu at 1 with 51% usage, Flutter Mane at 2, Raging Bolt at 3, Incin at 4. So that, again, like I said earlier, there's the exchange of positions there, but for the most part, these are still your 4 best mons. The only thing that you see different here is that We have the single strike Urshifu entering the graphic and Ferrograph dropping off a little bit. Again, single strike is also still really solid. Great into other Ferrographs and Cresselias, by the way. The dark type is also nice against, like, you know, prankster shenanigans. And then, again, you still got both Ogerpons here. You still have Rillaboom and Amoonguss rounding out your slots here. Okay, Landorus is still going to see high usage, especially with, like, Substitute and Sludge Bomb tech moves there. The occasional Taunt is also used. And then Tornadus, again, a little bit better, actually a lot better than the Whimsicott right now. Again, with access to Tailwind, both weather control with, you know, Sunny Day and Rain Dance, and then at the same time, you know, you can just enable this Urshifu Surging Strikes with Rain Dance, right? And then Sunny Day, pretty good at enabling photosynthesis mons like a Raging Bolt or a Flutter Mane, and it's good at stopping rain shenanigans, especially, you know, opposing Tornadus there, right? So, yeah, again, if you really want to, like, get your feet wet in Regulation F, if you haven't done so already, if you're looking to, you know, build a new team in Regulation F, you got to use at least 3 or 4 of these on your team. They're just really good Pokemon with good stats, good abilities, good typing, right? And then they enable others that you see on the screen, right? So might as well just borrow a couple of these cores here, right? Like Tornadus, Urshifu, Chenpao, right? Or like Incineroar and Ogerpon Wellspring for your Fire Water Grass core, and then Raging Bolt and Incineroar and Flutter Mane there, along with Urshifu. That could easily be a 4-mon team with the other 2 slots patching up, you know, certain matchups there. Okay, so now what we want to do is let's take a look at the teams that were able to utilize these mons, and let's look at their cores and let's see what they were using. Before we actually look at the teams, I actually want to look at the mons individually and just see what were the most popular sets here. By the way, Lab Mouse with a nice little new layout over here. So shout outs to them. They've been working hard here. So let's look at Flutter Mane here. So the most popular item to use on Flutter Mane, let me zoom in on this right here. So it looks like Booster Energy with Choice Specs coming in second place there. Again, 65% usage. That sounds about right there. But Flutter Mane with the booster is to be expected. Again, the speed boost to give yourself an advantage with the Icy Wind support. And if you look here, Icy Wind, its second most popular move there at 61%, even more than its other stab move in Shadow Ball over there. And then you have the Thunder Wave there only at 25%. I thought it would be a little bit higher than that, but you know, maybe we'll see a bit of an increase in the next regional there, because again, the whole point is like these bold, bulky Flutter Manes with the Hisuian-Arcanine support there. Oh my goodness, right? That's like one of the themes so far in Regulation F there. But anyway, so Choice Specs, again, 30% there, so a little bit more offensive set, obviously, but still getting some good usage. Grass Terra being the second highest Terra from the Flood Mane. Yes, we've seen that from the Victory Road tournaments there, so a little bit of carryover there, so that's to be expected. Raging Bolt, would it be the Assault Vest or would it be the Leftovers Calm Mind set to be most popular in this regional? And it turns out to be the Assault Vest set here. So 64% with the Assault Vest and then 16% with the Leftovers. So the Calm Mind, you know, being a little bit out of favor, the bulkier Assault Vest set is a little bit more preferred. And look at the support moves there, 41% with E-Webs, and then Snarl there at 38%. Very good into the mirror, by the way. So that makes a lot of sense. Then if you look at the Rapid Strike Urshifu, ideally it should be the Scarf, and it is, but you'll still see the occasional Sash and the Mystic Water sets for a little bit more damage. And then of course, you know, if you are running the Scarf sets, then you're gonna offer the idea of U-turn, of course, and then sometimes the Ice Spinner tech there can be used just to blow up terrain, right? So there's some usage there. And then from here, Incineroar, how much is the Assault Vest set used versus stuff like Goggles and Berry? And it turns out that the Berry barely edges out the Goggles here. And this is honestly no surprise here. This is a very standard Incineroar kind of build set over here, with the Berry giving you good recovery after you're coming in and out. And then the Goggles here, again, you know, just giving you that Amoonguss immunity, bypassing that Rage Powder there. And then the very standard sets here with Fake Out, Knockoff, Flavorless, Parting Shots, right? The occasional U-turns for those Assault Vest sets there. And sometimes Taunt and Will-O-Wisp will get some play. Then over here, let me see this. Ideally, the Rillaboom should have the Assault Vest as the highest item. Yeah, 71% there. Sometimes you'll see that Clear Amulet item. That was, again, a little bit more carryover from Victory Road, which is pretty good against Incineroar itself. Usually these clear Amulet Rillabooms, they'll have the ground coverage move as well, something like high horsepower. So this way you can hit the Incineroar for big, super effective damage. So that's to be expected here. Goldengo and Dragonite. Oh, let me see Dragonite here, by the way. So again, Dragonite here, you know, many people expected, at least on first glance on paper, for it to revert back to its choice band extreme speed shenanigans with Chien-Pao entering the meta yet again. But no, this is one of the more interesting developments of the second Regulation F in terms of the second go around here. People are still using that loaded dice idea because now, again, with Chien-Pao by its side, now you can pick up KOs even though you don't get that 5th roll. So if you're a little bit unlucky, at least if you have the Chien-Pao on your side, you're gonna give yourself a chance to pick up these KOs, whereas before in the previous format, you really needed that 5th roll to pick up certain KOs there. But nonetheless, here we are. And then look at the ability here. Inner Focus, 66%, multi-skill dropping, of course, in this format, because again, there's a lot more Intimidate, there's a lot more Fake Out. So having Inner Focus just makes a lot of sense here. And then look at that second most used move over there, right? The Iron Head over there. Again, that's for something like Flutter Mane, something for like Chien-Pao, for example, you know, the Ice weakness. And again, the Steel coverage is good against Ice and the Fairy type. So it makes a lot of sense there. And look at that Scale Shot there, 66%. Makes a lot of sense there. All right, the Arcanine, again, the Bandit sets are usually the way to go right now, 86%, of course. And again, you're going to be partnering this a lot with the Thunder Wave Flutter Mane stuff over here. And then from here, you got some other cool stuff like Gouging Fire, Ting-Lu, Chi-Yu, Regidrago stuff. Landorus has piqued my interest as of late there. We're going to get a team building out with that. Cresselia still also getting some good play, especially with Ursaluna teams. I think Cresselia teams are very underrated right now. And, you know, safety goggles, again, just to give yourself that immunity to the Spore Shenanigans and Trick Room. Mental Urban Rocky Helmet, of course, you know, just so that you don't get taunted, or the Rocky Helmet to deal bigger damage back at the Urshifus, for example, or like the Chien-Pao Dark Attacks. Makes a lot of sense here. But again, just wanted to really check in on some of those notable items, because some of these mons, they like to run 2 or 3 items. Just wanted to really take a look at what was most popular, at least for this regional, this early on in Regulation F. Now let's take a look at the teams, and now let's look at these cores. All right, so let's take a look at Cary's team as well as Pat Connor's and Connor's themselves. So they actually made their Roaring Moon team public there, and here are the EV spreads. So if you want, you can grab it right here. Otherwise, you can go ahead and take a look at what they've got on Twitter there. But these are almost pretty standard spreads here. I know what quite a few of these things do, but you know, of course, they'll probably be willing to explain it on something like Audie's channel or maybe their own video. The Roaring Moon here, Jolly 252 with Tailwind support. That's the way to go. Ideally, if you're going to go the Adamant set, that's usually the Dragon Dance set here. The 100 HP, 148 defense, that's pretty good to survive the Urshifu close combat after -1 Intimidate. It's also going to help you out against the Chien-Pao Ice attacks after you intimidate them. The 244 4 defense on Goldengo, that can survive Sucker Punch from Chien-Pao without Intimidate needed. That Landorus set there, that's the known Landorus set that we've been using in our videos as well. That survives Urshifu Surging Strikes after Utera. The Incin itself, again, that also piggybacks off of the previous format, the Impish 188 format, you know, EV spread there. 36 speed, so under Tailwind, you're able to outspeed the base 100, so that's going to be good, because then that means your parting shot is going to go first. The Amoonguss also, with that Relax nature, again, the physical defense is going to be nice, helps you survive Chien-Pao Ice attacks as well there. A little bit of Spadef, because again, that's really all you need afterwards. And then the Urshifu here, that speed will put you at 142, and then you just have 52 HP, 4 defense there, along with 188 attack there. Maybe that, well, actually the more intriguing one was the 68 special defense there. But again, with Terra Fire, that helps against you know, stuff like fairy weaknesses, which is going to be you know, pretty common with Flutter Mane running around, and so that'll neutralize the flying weakness and the psychic weakness. Again, a little bit of Spadef is more than welcome here. Okay, but besides really the Urshifu set, I think, you know, a lot of these spreads were already relatively known because they've been used on previous formats and previous teams. Because again, you have your baselines already, so why not just reuse it? Okay, so again, good synergy here with the Incin, Amoonguss, Goldengo idea here with Roaring Moon. Again, with Tailwind support and then the backbone of Incinemungus, you can enable your Goldengo very, very well. And then the Choice Specs trick set is so annoying sometimes if you can time it right. But, you know, just instant offense with this Make It Rain, deal a whole bunch of chip damage, and then just clean up in the back with stuff like Urshifu, right? Or even Landorus when everything has taken a ton of damage here. That Fairy Terra is also really nice for your defensive typing. That's going to be good against said sucker punches, right? And also that'll neutralize the ground weakness and the fire weakness all together there. And then of course Roaring Moon with the Terra Poison, same exact reason. Resist the fighting weakness, and then also be able to do well against the fairy weakness as well. So really, really cool team. I like it a lot. Congrats to both of them, actually all three of them. And you know, let's see what other people will, you know, try with this kind of core. And again, we've seen this before. I've even seen Hisuian-Arcanine onto something like this. I'm sure they've tried it, but you know, Instant is just a GOAT overall. So yeah, let's move on there. So let's look at the second place team, of course, from Paul Chua. Okay, this is as Calm Mind of a team as I've ever seen, right? We've got Raging Bull, Calm Mind. You got the Fake Out Boys, and you've got the redirection support, but you also have the Swords Dance Grassy Glide. We've seen this from VR as well. The Sash Urshifu also makes sense. And then the Flutter Mane, you know, with the Icy Wind Thunder Wave support here. Again, super annoying. Again, just giving yourself like this idea for speed control and the para hacks. That's what it really comes down to. And then you have the support with Rillaboom and Instant to be able to give yourself the space needed to set up these Calm Minds or to set up these Swords Dances, right? Because again, with Rillaboom Terrain coming out here, you know, Grassy Glide becomes priority, of course. And then these hard-hitting Grassy Glides are just super, you know, annoying to deal with, right? Whole bunch of chip damage, you know, coming from Grassy Glides and Thunderclaps, and then, you know, just giving you the space to be able to clean up in the end game and stuff like Sash, Ursh, or even like Flutter Mane over here. But yeah, after that, what else are we looking at here? So how about Jack Clark here? How about, again, more Roaring Moon ideas here, but this one is with Grimmsnarl and Goldengo still here. Again, with Roaring Moon, with the Tailwind idea. Entei, again, with Choice Band is also very, very strong. Another strong fire type in the format. There's a few, right? You know, besides the Arcanine and Instant and Chiyu. Entei is another one that you have to watch out for. The screens is annoying. It ruins a lot of damage counts. Okidogi is very good against Incineroar and the Ogre Pawns in general. And then, you know, just Gunk Shot, you know, as long as you don't miss, of course, it does a lot. Drain Punch, again, very solid. And when you add this Assault Vest Okidogi with screens, it becomes hard to break too. And then, you know, high horsepower, again, your tech move there. Wellspring, how about Wellspring going for the Swords Dance idea? You usually don't see that. It's usually the Heart Flame one doing that. Here we have the Wellspring doing that here. And then Citrus Berry Goldengo. Again, Berry Goldengo is also interesting here. Like Make It Rain, Hex, Nasty Plot here. So interesting stuff from Jack here. Again, Goldengo loves the Tailwind support, and it also loves the screens and redirection idea. You know, even though if you look at this, there is no redirection. But again, you can still give yourself the space to set up Nasty Plot here. Goldengo is still pretty good in this format here, so I like to see that. And then Justin Tan. So look at this. How about three of the top 4 teams have a Goldengo on it, right? Mr. Tang's team here, again, a little bit more offensive with the Regidrago setup. Again, with Life Orb here, Specs Goldengo yet again, and then Tailwind support from Tornadoes, of course, right? So Icy Wind, you know, makes a lot of sense here to, you know, give yourself the edge in the mirror matchup. Just don't miss Bleak Winds, right? It's Choice Scarf Urshifu, again, instant offense along with Rillaboom here, combined with Heart Flame. You know, with the Heart Flame here having redirection support as well, so you get to protect the Regidrago a little bit. You know, this is one of your win conditions. And then again, like we said, instant offense coming from Goldengo, just literally raw Tailwind, raw Make It Rain, clean up in the end game with stuff like Ursh, Ogre Pawn, or Regidrago. And then Rillaboom, again, fake out support here, along with Heart Flame here, looks pretty cool. Again, a little bit of a unorthodox kind of Regidrago team when you consider it, right? But again, these are all good Pokemon, okay? You know, one might think maybe you needed an Indeedee or something like Burgraph to stop priority against it, so this way your Dragon Energy can do max damage. But Justin says, no, not necessary. We can just use our balance tools and then just go with Tailwind hyper offense balance, more or less, right? Aaron Brock here, Cresselia, Ursaluna stuff. Again, maybe my second favorite archetype right now. We love Crest Ursaluna teams. Incineroar Backbone makes a lot of sense. And then Urshifu Flutter Mane, again, just raw, big damage. Physical breaker from the Ursh, special breaker coming from the Flutter Mane. Makes a lot of sense, of course. Very standard, very traditional Cresselia Ursaluna team. Good job, Aaron. Then Kyline here, he's got a bit of a Dondozo team. Again, don't sleep on Dozo teams, guys, because again, Kyline makes a good choice here because there's not a lot of, checks being run for the Dondozo. There's no haze like Regulation F. Maybe some Chenpels may start to run it, but there's not a whole lot of Clear Smog on the Amoonguss. A little bit more preferred is the Sludge Bomb right now, so might as well play the Dozo Tatsugiri idea, and here we are. Then you've got the 2-2-2 stuff, with Chi-Yu and Flutter Mane there, the Flutterfish combination, Sash Chi-Yu, Booster Energy Flutter Mane, makes a lot of sense. And then, just a little bit of Glamora stuff, might as well, right? Glamora looking really good in this format, especially with the coverage moves that it gets, and then, with Terra Grass here. And then Raging Bolt, Assault Vest Raging Bolt, might as well slap it on here. It's the best mod in the format. So go ahead and throw yourself out there. And then how about this one? Look at this one. This one is, Tailwind Ursaluna stuff here, which again, you kind of saw in the previous format too. Now you see a little bit of carryover over here. So, these Ursalunas, they're probably going to have a lot more speed investments along with, being adamant natured instead of brave. Because this way they can play under Tailwind as well. There's good synergy with Tornadus because you can Earthquake next to it. And then, like I said earlier, look, raw offensive Flutter Mane there with Incineroar here. You don't have the Amoonguss, but you do have the Heart Flame here. And then Throat Spray Ferrograph, again, very good Trick Room setter. You could just easily fake out Trick Room, then you turn into Ursaluna. And then Throat Spray, again, becomes like your Blood Moon, more or less, right? This is like pretend Blood Moon, in the Ferrograph slot here. Again, very, very offensive here with Hyper Voice. And then, of course, with the Raw Psychic there. So at least you get a special attacking Trick Room presence on your squad here. And you stop like, stuff like Grassy Glide into your Ursalunas and whatever. So this is a pretty cool way to play it. And then how about this one? Maybe one of the favorite teams of the tournament, in my opinion, the Galarian Moltres team from Dorian Kong here. The Choice Specs Moltres, again, Flutter Mane, Hisuian-Arcanine, Thunder Wave, plus the Rock Slides, the Flare Blitzes, of course. And Specs Moltres, bulky Specs Moltres. Normally, I thought there was supposed to be a Hex on this, but I guess they dropped it. Terra Blast, Terra Steel is also very good against stuff like Chenpao and Flutter Mane as well. So I like the Terra type Terra Blast over here. Clear Amulet Rillaboom with Terra Ground, high horsepower, like we said earlier. That's great into stuff like Incident and Hisuian-Arcanine. Bolt here, E-Web support, Ogerpon Wellspring, again, protecting the Arcanine here. Fire, Water, Grass Core. Again, just Urshifu shenanigan check here, but Moltres is good. Don't sleep on this thing, guys. Again, Stab, Snarl, Fiery Wrath is still very good. Air Slash into the Ogerpons, right? And then you can't really click an Earth Power move into this because you're a flying type, right? So all the more power to this Galarian Moltres idea. So this makes a lot of sense here. So shout out to Dorian. Really, really cool squad here. Then as we go down again from 9 through 14 here, Ethan, this is like very traditional, very cookie cutter, Iron Crown Psyspam. You know what you're getting here, with Indeedee and Iron Crown. Again, just Psychic Terrain, spam Expanding Force, Tornadus Urshifu here, raw offense again. But look at this, strong Specs Flutter Mane over here with Icy Wind, right? Sunny Day is also really nice. Sometimes a little bit counterintuitive with your Urshifu, but goes well with your Ogerpon Heart Flame here. And I like this way. This is like maybe my preferred way to play this. You don't really need Regidrago on this. I think the Regidrago just, even though it's good on this type of team, it just makes it kind of pins your team a little bit, because like you have to bring like Indeed, you have to bring the Tailwind offense, right? To really, pilot it to make it work really, really well. But now with stuff like Ogerpon Heart Flame here, you give yourself a little bit more stability. You get a Redirector, you get something that doesn't have to rely on Tailwind, okay? And you get a nice little Fire, Water, Grass Core with your Urshifu over here, right? So that's pretty cool. And at the same time, look at this. You got Calm Mind on this, right? So you can have like Follow Me and then just click Calm Mind, and now all of a sudden your expanding forces are hitting super hard. Your attacking colors again really strong. So I love this. I think it's a good way to build around Iron Crown. You don't need the Regidrago per se. Brandon Zhang over here, right? So look at this, Raging Bolt, Incin stuff, you know, very classic. Then Urshifu, Flutter Mane. You got the top 4 Pokemon on your team, right? You can't go wrong, right? And then how about the Cornerstone getting some love here on Brandon's team here? Again, the built-in Sash with Sturdy, and then Goldango with the Metal Coat. You know, again, you got the setup ideas here with Nasty Plot because you got Fake Out and Redirection over here. You got Taunt and Thunder Wave and Icy Wind here, right? The support Flutter Mane, super annoying, and then just raw offensive, you know, Life Orb Raging Bolt here. I wonder if this is max speed Raging Bolt. Usually these Life Orb Raging Bolts are max speed. Maybe Brendan's got it at max speed, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But again, really cool idea there. Noah Carney. All right, so Rain is actually still pretty solid in this format, you know, with all the photosynthesis and all the sun stuff running around here. This is very classic way to build Rain because again, you got access to Urshifu now, right? So, you know, Pelipper, Archelodon, there's your core. Then you just slap on Urshifu Surging Strikes, right? Just instant offense in the Rain with Pelipper. You got Tailwind support from the Pelipper. You got Life Orb Pelipper, by the way, you know, for a little bit of damage here. Instant Amoonguss, Porygon, that's your balance backbone into, you know, the other Tailwind teams there. It makes a lot of sense. And in some cases, you don't even need, you know, the Incineroar or the Porygon here. You could easily slap on Chenpao here for another variation to enable the Urshifu more, right? So I've seen some variations like that. But this is also really solid altogether. So I kind of like this too. And note the Archelodon is a Snarl set over here. So this is almost like your Raging Bolt, right? But just in the rain, more or less. So really cool idea from Noah. And then how about Blood Moon Ursaluna still getting some love? You know, you don't really see a whole lot of the Blood Moons. You know, it's the other one that's being a little bit more preferred. But this still works too. Look at this. Incin, Amoonguss, Paragraph. Give me an Ursaluna here, right? You could easily do Incin, Amoonguss, P2, and then the other Ursaluna, right? But now we've got this variant here, and you know, you've got your Surging Strikes. Urshifu here with your Heart Flame instead of a Flutter Mane here. Again, still getting that Fire Water Grass core here. But all in all, this is also still pretty solid too. And I like it. Now, what's really cool here is some of these tech moves here. So first of all, you got Terra Steel and Moongus. You usually don't see that, but that's pretty good against like the ice stuff there. And then at the same time, like I said, Sludge Bomb being a little bit more preferred over Pollen Puff, Hyper Voice, and Psychic with the Throat Spray Paragraph. Again, Helping Hand Urshifu, by the way. There's your tech. And then Blood Moon looks like it's pretty standard Blood Moon set over there, right? So yeah, good job, Emmanuel. Then we've got Justin Karras here. Is this like balanced Calm Mind stuff here? No, this is actually just offensive Raging Bolt here, just good stuff balance here, right? The double fake outs, the redirection, right? But oh wait, actually no, I'm so sorry. You still got Swords Dance Ogerpon here. All right, so you still got the fake out boys here, but this is not Calm Mind Raging Bolt. This is just like only one setup Mon, right, in the Ogerpon, not committing that to Raging Bolt here. A little bit more offensive. You still got Urshifu here with Mystic Water, but look at this. Pain Split Flutter Mane. Oh my goodness, Pain Split. Hey, there's the tech choice. We saw this a little bit in BR in some of the Japanese teams, right? So a little bit of carry over here. Good job, Justin. And then finally here, Mr. Charles Moses here. This is like your one of your first Regulation F teams. You know, Glomora HO with the Chiyu, the Flutter Mane, the Ogerpon Wellspring, and then the Urshifu Single Strikes here, right? This was like in one of our team building videos weeks ago, and then this is also, you know, one of the classic teams to use in the first go around of Regulation F. Still good even right now, so if you like hyper offense, this is probably one of the first teams to use. Otherwise, you can always use like Tornadus, Iron Crown stuff. It's also really good. So we got a pretty decent variety of archetypes here, right? So within Top Cut, look, you've got Glomora HO, you still got Raging Bolt Balance, you got a Rain team in there, you got Blood Moon Ursaluna Paragraph stuff, and then you still have Iron Crown offense there. Okay, Iron Crown Psyspam, a Moltres team over here, Dondozo, Tatsugiri stuff, Cressor, Ursaluna, a couple of Roaring Moon teams, right? So there's some good variants within this top cut there. So, you know, even though you might hear some people say, you know, Regulation F getting a little bit stale, you know, but you still got a lot of good teams doing really, really well. Like, yes, Raging Bolt is used on a lot of different teams, but the sets are important, right? And how you use the Raging Bolt to some of these common mons on a lot of these teams can vary, right? Because again, look at Flutter Mane. Sometimes it's that booster energy support set. Sometimes it's the offensive choice spec set. And then even with, you know, stuff like whatchamacallit, the Roaring Moon, right? You either have like the Tailwind set or you have the Dragon Dance set, right? And that kind of affects how you play it. So, you know, you might see some of the same mods, but how you use them, just pay attention to the sets, because that will vary how you play the game. Okay, so now let's take a look at some other notable archetypes, some other notable teams that still did well, because we always like to preview everyone and the regional as a whole, because we don't want to only limit ourselves to just the top cut here, because there are still a lot of good teams, a lot of good results moving downwards over here. So heading into this regional, arguably the Hisuian-Arcanine Flutter Mane balance archetype was the best type of team that was expected to be seen in this tournament, and we got to see some great results here from that kind of duo here. Again, it's all about that bulky Flutter Mane with Thunder Wave, coupled it with the Intimidate support and the offensive pressure from the Hisuian-Arcanine. So we already got to see some of that with Dorian's team here. Now, if you take a look at some of the others, which is like a little bit more standard stuff besides the Galarian Moltres, right? So here we are, right? So you've got the Flutter Mane there with Icy Wind, Taunt, and Thunder Wave, very supportive. No Protect here. Sometimes they may run Protect. And then the Arcanine here with the Terra Grass, you know, for the water and the ground weakness. And then Thunder Wave pressure is just so good, and it's so annoying, especially if you get one Power Hacks. That could just ruin your entire run, as we all know. And then you add the Wellspring here to couple with the Arcanine here, so you get your Fire, Water, Grass core here. And then Raging Bolt can just be a little bit more supportive and deal chip damage here and there. Electro Web support coupled with Priority Thunderclap, put things in range, so this way some of your more offensive options can clean up. You've got the Single Strike Urshifu, very useful against Cresselia and Farigiraf, and then Landorus here, also very nice into opposing Raging Bolts and opposing Arcanines and Incineroars there. So very standard Flutter Mane Arcanine balance. Then there's a couple more variations that you can consider. This one here is pretty much the same idea. They may have some different movesets here. No, it's pretty much the same. Terra Steel Landorus, of course. No Protect on the Flutter Mane yet again, but again, still totally fine. So Kaden, again, similar idea. Then you can even add something like this here with Chenpire. So let me look at Will Brown's team for a second. Right, so same idea. Thunder Wave, Flutter Mane, Arcanine, Band. Again, Landorus, Raging Bolt, Wellspring, Ogerpon. No Urshifu. Instead, we're going with Chenpao here. So this can add a little bit more to your Arcanine and even your Ogerpon Wellspring mode, because you have Sword of Ruin. But ideally, it's the same kind of way. You still have the same core options here. So it would still make sense. Fiona here, she had the Roaring Moon idea with Goldengo. Still totally fine, like we mentioned earlier. This one here, this one with Kian, he adds the Dragonite to go along with the Chenpao here. So again, Thunder Wave, Flutter Mane, Hisuian-Arcanine, Clear Amulet. Then you add Dragonite along with the Chenpao here. So now the Chenpao can enable the Arcanine and the D-Knight here. And then you still add Urshifu, Rillaboom. So again, a lot of physical options. And then you just add the Flutter Mane here for a little bit more support. But again, you know, just look how much priority you have here. You have E-Speed over here, Ice Shard here, well, you know, Grassy Glide and slash Fake Out over here, Extreme Speed over there, Aqua Jet over here. So basically tons of priority spam. And this is one way that you can play this kind of team. So again, it just makes sense. All right, Elect Rosario, that's the same team that we saw earlier. This one features the Amoonguss. This one is Ashton's team over here. A little bit more stability in the Trick Room matchup. But funny enough, this actually doesn't even have the Flutter Mane. So shout out to Ashton for deviating that build a little bit. This one here, Dan Hopper, again, kind of the same idea as earlier. Instead of the Ursh, we have the Chenpao, which has Icicle Crash instead of Ice Spinner for blowing up. No, not for blowing up terrain, but for, you know, getting the defense drop there. I'm sorry, the flinch chance. And then if you look here, look, there was some pretty good day 2 stuff here. But again, the R-type is here to stay. It's one of the better ones to use right now, and it had some really, really good results. So again, it just really capitalizes on the key 4 with the Flutter Mane, the Arcanine, and then the Raging Bolt along with the Landorus. And then from there, you can either go with the Urshifu or the Chien-Pao, or you can mix things up a little bit in that last slot there with something like Dragonite. But either way, the core still remains the same. And it's just one of the better archetypes right now. Thunder Wave is super annoying, and this is why some other people are using Grimstar Thunder Wave, which is, again, one of our favorites as well. But if this is something that you like to use, again, if you're trying to really hammer it in on Regulation F, any of these Hisuian-Arcanine teams are going to be good. Let's look at the other Iron Crown Psyspam teams. This is one of the more aggressive archetypes going into Regulation F, right? And we've seen the traditional builds already with stuff like Regidrago. But if you look at the top Iron Crown teams, how many of them actually use Regidrago? Only one here from Richard Wan. And this is what I've been telling a lot of people. You don't need the Regidrago. I think it limits and restricts your battle plans quite a bit. And it's better to get a little bit of more versatility with another slot over here. So let's take a look at some of the others. Let's look at Costa's team over here. I like this. The double genie idea makes sense, right? With Landorus and Tornadus here, because if you're going to use Urshifu over here, right, and if you're going to use Rain Dance, put a Landorus here, because now you get accurate Sandstream Storms, right? And you also have your single target move in Earth Power. So I like this too. Okay, and then again, Iron Crown with Indeedee stuff along with Tornadus Urshifu. There's your core right there. You can easily build an Iron Crown team just with those 4 mods, right? The Tailwind, the Terrain, the Physical Breaker, okay? And then you add the Iron Crown. That's your core. These last 2 slots, it can be whatever. Usually, it'll be like the Regidrago, the Ogre Pawns or whatever. But in this case, we've got Landorus and we've got Okidogi here. Makes a lot of sense. Iron Crown doesn't want to deal with Incineroar because, again, your Expanding Force can't hit it. And then your attacking counter gets resisted. This is also why you need Terra Blast, Terra Water for that reason. But instead of having to rely on that, you have the Okidogi to help you in those cases. So good job there from Costa. I like the team. Federico here, again, similar idea. Just, you know, not even relying on the Tailwind idea. Let's play the Iron Crown in a balanced way. Look at this. Calm Mind Iron Crown. Okay, you've got the Indeedee, you've got the Incin, you've got the Wellspring Ogre Pawn. So you've got the redirection, you've got the fake out pressure, okay? So you can set up the Iron Crown this way, and at the same time, you still have Landorus and you still have Urshifu here for, you know, your breaker needs, right? From the special end and the physical end. So this is another idea that you can explore. You know, again, you don't need the Regidrago here, right? And you don't necessarily need the Tailwind if you have the Trick Room redirection option over here. So that's also a nice way to play this. And then how about this one from Alex? Okay, how about utilizing the Whimsicott here with Sunny Day? You've got the single strike Urshifu instead. So this is still Iron Crown with Calm Mind. Again, you've got Indeedee here. And then you've got the Heart Flame here that can really benefit from said Sunny Day. So you can easily just leave these 2 and play and start the game that way. And then you can clean up in the end game with stuff like Indeedee / Iron Crown or even Indeedee Urshifu. People forget how good Indeedee Urshifu pairing is, especially in Sword and Shield. You can definitely still get a lot done with this, right? Just click follow me, click Wicked Blow. Click follow me, click Wicked Blow. Oh, you killed my Indeedee? Okay, fine. Let's bring in Whimsicott, Tailwind, Wicked Blow. Okay? And then you just wrap things up with, you know, a Flutter Mane or an Ogre Pawn here, right? And what's really cool with Sunny Day here is that you can enable your Flutter Mane this way. So now you've got choice specs, right? With the Terra Fairy, and you've got Photosynthesis Sunny Day stuff, right? So this Flutter Mane is going to hit like an absolute truck here. So another cool way to play Iron Crown Psyspam shenanigans. And then of course Richard, again, Richard playing the traditional way with Regidrago. Again, you've got the core with Tornadus, Iron Crown, Indeedee, Urshifu. Again, easy 4 mons to start with. Then you add Regidrago here for Dragon Energy stuff, and then you have the Ogre Pawn Heart Flame to give you that Fire Water Gun score. So that makes a lot of sense too. Then how about this one? Instead of the you know, the special Landorus, how about we have the physical Landorus, which I also like because again, you have some synergy here with Earthquake next to a flying type, and you give yourself an Intimidate option on your team. So you can easily just do Landorus plus anything here really, right? And then you have the pivot with U-turn. So again, you have the cycling of the Intimidate support, which again is still very, very good. You still have the Fire Water Grass core here with Ogre Pawn Urshifu here. So all in all, you keep the core. You got your Tornadus, you got your Ursh, you got your Iron Crown, you got your Indeedee. The last 2 slots depends on you and how you want to play it. We've got the Ogre Pawn Heart Flame, and then we've got one of the Landoruses here. again, it works, right? We still have the core, and we have our situational 2 slots here. Look at Parker Simmons. Look at this. What do we see? Tornadus, Iron Crown, Indeedee. All right, and then you have the Urshifu, but you have the other Urshifu in this case, and we have one of the Ogerpons, right? Not the Heart Flame, not the Wellspring one, right? We have the Defiant one. Ooh, how about this? So in case you want to bring Incin into the Iron Crown, now you give this thing Defiant, and there's the superpower idea. Goodbye Incin, right? And then of course you got Ban Urshifu here. Just again, Tailwind, Wicked Blow here. Indeedee, follow me, Wicked Blow. And then look at this. How about Ursaluna for your ground type instead of the Landorus's, right? So you can even play this way because look, you can pivot into the Trick Room mode and then bring in Ursaluna. So you can even do something like this. So I like this idea from Parker Simmons too, because now you've got the Trick Room engine at the same time over here, right? You can even just do like Indeedee Ogerpon stuff, like follow me, Trick Room, they kill this, bring in Ursaluna, start spamming Facades and Earthquakes or whatever, right? You can even pivot out into Tornadus and click Earthquake that way. Again, I like it. Makes a lot of sense. Gives your team a little bit of variance, right? And then even this one from Luca. Look at this. Now we even add the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Again, it's just that ground type that we can easily pivot out, right? And switch it into this. But again, we're still sticking with that core of Tornadus, Iron Crown, Urshifu, Indeedee, right? So here we go. Blood Moon instead is filling that ground type slot. And then from here, throw in an Ogerpon, right? We've seen it already. So it's very clear what the Iron Crown teams are looking at and what they want to do. And, you know, a lot of these cores just makes a lot of sense, right? And then this one here, Luca, no, that was Luca's already. Look at this one from Mahjong Ball, 6-4 results here. You can even play this way. Like, Chiyu's another underrated partner because, again, with Beads of Ruin, your Iron Crown does more damage, right? And then there's that Therian ground slot here, but there's no Urshifu here, right? Which is still okay. You've got a Chiyu here, right? So Torn, Iron Crown, Indeedee, right? And then Landorus, again, with your double Genie mode, still makes a lot of sense. And then you still have Ogerpon Wellspring here for your Fire Water Grass. Again, you can definitely play this way. But all in all, good results from the Iron Crown teams, showing you the different options that you can have besides the Regidrago stuff. But again, the core is clear. Give me that Tornadus, give me that Indeedee, give me that Urshifu, right? To surround my Iron Crown. Last slot, it's some sort of ground type and some sort of Ogerpon, right? Or you can use the Regidrago stuff. But all in all, the Iron Crown teams are looking pretty good right now. Okay, so even though Roaring Moon was able to take first place with Cary's squad, it didn't have like an overwhelming good result in the Toronto Regionals as a whole. There were some pretty good teams, right? But not a whole lot, right? Because again, you know, my screen doesn't even go that far here, right? But let's take a look at some of the others. So we saw first and third place there. How about Daniel Yu's team over here? Again, is this one of those Dragon Dance sets here? I think it might be. No, it's actually just still Acrobatics, Tailwind, and Knockoff over here. So no breaking swipe stuff, but again, Instant Amoonguss, Offensive Ferrograph here with the Throat Spray set, and then Landorus, and then Urshifu, Surging Strikes over here. So you still get this Fire Water Grass core going for you over here, and you still get a special attacking presence with the Landorus and the Ferrograph here. So this is still more or less Roaring Moon balance that you can still use and enjoy. So shout out to Daniel for getting a good 9-3 result there. Fiona over here, Roaring Moon, Hisuian-Arcanine, and Goldango. This is another very, very good starting core here. If you want to use Roaring Moon balance, this is another way to utilize this. And then look, it's a clear amulet, Hisuian-Arcanine, as opposed to the band, right? Because again, you yourself can get intimidated. And then you still have priority shenanigans here with extreme speed. You got Sub-Landers for your Trick Room matchup. And then Goldango here can always, you know, set up with Nasty Plot here because you still have Rillaboom here to give you some help with Fake Out Pressure. But otherwise, if you can just set up your Tailwind here, then Goldango can come in afterwards and just start clicking hard-hitting Make It Rain, right? And then you still have Fake Out Pressure with Surging Strikes with Urshifu over here. And all in all, your Fire Water Grass core with Arcanine, Urshifu, and Rillaboom is still relatively solid. So shout outs to Fiona, good result there. Pat Connors, again, it's pretty much the same team as Cary, right? They're in the same building group. This one utilizes a Dondozo idea with Snow, with Articuno, and Ninetales here. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Still going with the 2-2-2 formula here. We'll cover Dondozo a little bit more later in a different part of this video. but nice to see some Dondozo's teams still get some love there. Again, another one right here, 7-5 from Alexis. Still great results here, and I think I think it's the same squad as Fiona. I think they probably built their plan together, maybe, who knows, but again, very familiar cores that are still good even right now. Again, we mentioned it earlier, right, with Roaring Moon, Arcanine, and Goldengo, and you still have the other core of Urshifu, Arcanine, and Rillaboom here for your Fire, Water, Grass needs. Then Tyler's son here. How about Iron Hands getting some love here? You don't see a whole lot of Iron Hands. It's still a good Pokemon, but people just prefer Raging Bolt right now. But you can still get some work done here with Iron Hands. You still get a bulky Fake Out user, right? With the Assault Vest is still very, very good. It's pretty good into Trick Room, right? Because again, you're slow yourself. And this is the Dragon Dance Roaring Moon over here, right? And look at this. This is Paris Song Flutter Mane. Again, just instant win button if you're able to pick up 2 easy KOs. It's great into Dondozo stuff, of course. And then, Wellspring Ogerpon here with Incin and Amoonguss over here. Again, Fire, Water, Grass core looking really, really good. Just enabled the Roaring Moon here, right? The Fake Out stuff with Iron Hands is also very much appreciated. I think we use this a little bit in some of our team building videos with Roaring Moon there, so take a look at that one. But the other way to really play it is the Okie Dokie idea, right? You saw it from Jack, and here you get to see it again. Where is it? Yeah, right here from Ben. And I think Ben is... yeah, this is the same one, right? So the Specs Flutter Mane here, right, with Power Gem, great into Incineroar, by the way. AV Okie Dokie here with Upper Hand and Knockoff. Very standard set there. Very Incin with Taunt, good. And then how about the Imprisoned Landorus? Look at this. Right, just neutering other Landorses, making sure that they don't get to click Earth Power Sludge Bomb either. And then this is a Tailwind Roaring Moon here, not a Dragon Dance set. So I like this from Ben. So again, just a couple of ideas that you can use with Roaring Moon. Again, the Hisuian-Arcanine Goldengo route, the Screens idea with Okie Dokie, or just full on balance with stuff like Incin, Amoonguss, and like insert your other 2 slots over there, right? So again, it's a good mon, right? But maybe not nearly as easy to pilot as some of the other archetypes. But again, Roaring Moon with that speed tier and that dragon typing, great into the Ogerpons. The flying coverage is great into stuff like the Ogerpons, the Rillabooms, the Amoongusses. All right, and then the occasional breaking swipes is good, right? With Knockoff, being able to remove key items, right? So Roaring Moon, even though sometimes it gets the nickname Roaring Mid, it's still a very, very good Pokemon when piloted correctly. Okay, let's take a look at some other cores. Dondozo Tatsugiri teams. Were they really a threat here? Not really, but they were used at least. But all in all, there were some successful Dondozo teams without the Tatsugiri, right? We know about this team here. We're gonna click Kevin's team in a second here, but just outside of the top cut here at 15th place, we got a Weezing team here, right? Again, Weezing is one of those mods, like, again, looks great on paper, but it can become a dead slot if you don't pilot it correctly here. Now, Neutralizing Gas, again, very good ability because a lot of Pokemon need your abilities. And then the Poison Gas, Toxic Spike stuff, again, just chipping things down and then just cleaning up with your Dondozo Tatsugiri stuff, of course. Then you got Flutter Mane Chiyu, again, the Flutterfish, right? And then just slap on the Raging Bolt over here. So again, this is a familiar idea that we've seen before in the first go around of Regulation F, and it can still work here too. Otherwise, the other way to play is to just slap on the Ninetales and the Articuno, right? And then you get your 2-2-2 team that way, because then you just add the Glamora with the Tailwind option here with the Roaring Moon here. This also makes sense too. So if you want to play this way, you can definitely do that as well. But all in all, the most successful kind of idea with Dondozo is to play without the Tatsugiri, which brings us to Kevin's team here. Now, there are a few variations of this, right? But ideally, it's just all about this Yawn Sand Tomb stuff with Tinglu over here. And then you still have Dragonite Chenpao here with Gouging Fire. The Howl support, just boosting up their damage. And then we've also seen the matcha Pokemon that escapes my head real at the moment here. The Sinisha, that's what I meant to say, right? The Sinisha has been used on these compositions before, so that is also one way to really look at it. But otherwise, just with Tatsugiri, Some mixed results here. Again, you can look at the 5-3 squads over here. Again, the 2-2-2 formula is still right here, along with the Ninetales stuff there. Again, this is what people have been using since the first Regulation F. So might as well just bring it here and let's see how it goes. But in this regional, it didn't have the greatest of results, but it's still a pretty good idea to still play Dondozo Tatsugiri if you know what you're doing and if you have experience already. Otherwise, if not, then I would look elsewhere. Okay, so right here, this is the Gouging Fire stuff that we were just mentioning. So basically, you know, sometimes you'll see them with the regular Dondozo Tinglu stuff, right? With the yawn pressure and the fissure and the sand tomb idea, right? Just to trap you in and then make you fall asleep and take, you know, chip damage over time. Otherwise, they'll go like this Galarian Zapdos route, which is, again, pretty good. Because if you just consider Galarian Zapdos and what it's supposed to do, right, it's great against stuff like Incineroar. It's also good against the Ogerpons, right, because again you have the flying stab here, but then you can also be supportive here with the coaching stuff, where you can give yourself the attack boost and then also give yourself a defense boost, and then you add the fact that you have Tinglu with Vessel of Ruin, where you were just reducing special attack damage altogether. So now you know, you're just abusing your physical attackers and mitigating the special attack damage, right? And if you look at Tinglu, it's a clear amulet set. So ideally, you could even be very offensive here, and you notice how there's Earthquake on it. So that's pretty good synergy with the Galarian Zapdos. So you could even just coach your Tinglu and then just, you know, make this super strong, adding the defense boost. And now all of a sudden, you're super hard to remove because again, you have Vessel of Ruin to reduce special attack damage. So good synergy there. Okay, and then Incineroar doesn't want to deal with either of the options, right? Because you're weak to fighting and you're also weak to ground. Same thing here with the Chenpao and the Dragonite. Now, the Zapdos can't outspeed the Chenpao, which makes the Scarf even more valuable here, right? Because again, you can go for coaching into your Chenpao and you have these +1 priority Ice Shards, right? And then at the same time, you have harder hitting Ice Spinners and harder hitting Sacred Swords. Dragonite here, like we were mentioning in the beginning of the video, inner focus scale shot idea, right? With Terra Steel, with the Steel attack and Iron Head here. So that makes it really good as an option here. You can even lead Zapdos Dragonite, boost up your Dragonite. Now all of a sudden, +1 scale shots are hitting super hard, right? And then Extreme Speed, of course, again, a hard hitting priority attack there. And then you have Gouging Fire, which enables all of these, right? Because you have Howl Boost to enable all the physical damage that you're going to be dealing. And then Heat Crash, again, super strong attack, especially into like Flutter Manes, for example. And then Breaking Swipe to reduce even more damage coming out from the physical end. So you could also just lead Tinglu Gouging Fire, and you could just, you know, again, go for these Breaking Swipes, which reduces physical damage. And then you have the Vessel of Ruin on the field to reduce special attack damage. So you have a lot of damage mitigation while also being able to increase your own damage with stuff like Howl and coaching, right? And that makes the team very, very hard to deal with. And then all in all, you got the Sinistra here, right? With the Trick Room idea, which again can flip Tailwind teams upside their head. And it also gives you a way to get yourself out of Trick Room or play in it, right? But, you know, again, with Sinistra, again, Matcha Gotcha, if you even burn any kind of physical attacker, they just don't do anything for the rest of the game, right? So Strength Sap is also relatively annoying. Rocky Helmet, Terra Fairy, right? So that's really good against the Dark weakness. Mid removes your Ghost weakness. And again, Rage Powder just, you know, it's great into something like Urshifu Surging Strikes here. So, you know, a team like this is looking really good right now. So shout outs to Diego, all right, for piloting this. We got to see a lot of this from Victory Road leading up into this tournament. Then we have Joe's team here, this variation. Now, usually the King Gambit is not on these teams anymore this go around, but Joe loves King Gambit, so it just makes sense that he wants to keep playing it. Again, it's a mon that he's very, very used to, and he's, you know, used a lot and has a lot of success with in the past. So it makes a lot of sense here. But again, it's fulfilling that Zapdos role a little bit in that Defiant Mon. Even though you can't coach your own Pokemon here, it's okay, because you still have the Gouging Fire to boost up your damage anyway. And then you still have the Dragonite, the Chenpao, and now you even add the Ogerpon Wellspring for the Urshifu Surging Strikes instead of the Sinistra. And then you still have Amoonguss here. Look at that Amoonguss set there. Wiki Berry, Grass Knot, especially with that tech there. So nice idea there from Joe. He had a great result there, and you can tell he already had a lot of practice with it. And look at this Dragonite here. This is the Choice Band Inner Focus stuff with Terra Normal. E-Speed shenanigans there. So lots of priority here. All right, the Gambit, unlike the Zapdos, can give you priority, has a slower speed tier, which means you can play it a little bit more in Trick Room here. Again, it can work if you put it in the hands of the right person. And then this is the Dondozo variant that we were mentioning earlier from Kevin's team here. So again, it really just depends on how you want to play this kind of archetype. Either you go like the Dondozo Tinglu route with like the Santomb Yawn stuff, or you go a little bit more offensive with the Clear Amulet idea and be super more aggressive with the Galarian Zapdos idea, right? Dylan here has a similar idea. Actually, is Grant's team the same idea? Yeah, it's pretty much the same stuff, right? This one has dual Wing Beat, right? And this one, yeah, it's pretty much the same stuff there. Terra Water Sinistra instead of Terra Fairy. Makes a lot of sense there. Some slight variants. Dylan's team over here, again, alright, so this one is multi-scale with Scale Shot. Alright, and then again, you got Chenpao here, Terra Blast, Terra Poison, Tinglu with the Amulet. Again, no Zapdos here, but that's okay. You still have, you got Corviknight here with your Iron Head idea. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Mirror Armor is still a very, very good ability. You don't really see a whole lot of Corviknight right now, but it can still definitely work here. And you still have the same kind of core with Gouging Fire, Dragonite, Chenpao with Tinglu. So as long as you got those four, those last two slots are up for grabs, and it's okay. Is there any other kind of variation? No, this is pretty much the same thing, right? So you can see like Terrence over here, Shane over here, Diego, they all have the same idea. This is all piggybacking off of Victory Road. And again, like these older variants, let me look at Jean's team. Even though he had 5-3, it's still a pretty decent result here. So like this is like one of those older variations that you saw in the first go around of Regulation H, where you had like the Gambit stuff. Okay, and this one did not have Dragonite here. You had other options here. You had a special attacking Landorus here with Substitute to help you in the Trick Room games a little bit. So this is more of the older variation, whereas something like Diego's team or like some of the others here from like Terrence or Shane, these are like the more modern variations of that, of the Galarian Zapdos physical spam stuff. The Torkoal, some teams were also to be expected into this regional. Now, it really just depends if you wanted to go the hard Trick Room route or if you wanted to go a little bit more balanced with stuff like the Walking Wake here. So take a look at Ryan Marshall's team here, 9-3 results. This is pretty much expected. You have Indeedee, Hatterene, Torkoal. That's your key Trick Room core. And then you add Smeargle here, which is super annoying. You know, with Spore Pressure, more redirection with the Focus Sash, super annoying. And then you have Decorate. So now all of your sweepers are dealing even more damage. And then you have Ferrograph here, which can also deal damage, but also set up Trick Room at the same time. And then just regular Urshifu Choice Band stuff, you know, just for a hard-hitting Pokemon outside of Trick Room here, right? And I wouldn't even be surprised if this was a Brave variant, but most players, or I shouldn't say most, some players don't, they tend to not use the Urshifu that way, but if they did, again, it's totally fine. This is a Specs Torkoal, so this is literally like as hard of a Trick Room team as you'll see, with the exception of maybe the Urshifu here, but the Smeargle just makes things very, very annoying. Healing Wish is a nice tech coming from the Indeedee over here, so shout outs to Ryan, great result there. And then from here, Cousin Thompson, of course, this is the team that we were talking about earlier with the support idea with the Torkoal and then adding Walking Wake here. So if you look at the Torkoal set, again, Heat Rock just to make the weather last a little bit longer. And then you also have support moves like Helping Hand and Yawn. And that's the key here because the Torkoal can be offensive but also supportive at the same time. You can lead this thing, you know, with Flutter Mane there and enable its your photosynthesis ability, whether you go for the speed or the special attacking nature, depends on how you build the Flutter. And then Walking Wake, same thing, you can enable it. So you can lead Torkoal Flutter or Torkoal Walking Wake, and then support with stuff like Helping Hand, or even be supported with Yawn. So even though you take damage, you may not be able to click Eruption, you can still click Weather Ball and then enter any of these support moves. So good versatility from the Torkoal on this type of team. And then you also still have the fast mode with Torkoal Lilligant here, right? Where you can always just, you know, enable Chlorophyll and put things to sleep, right? Now, so they've dropped after you on these type of builds because, again, it's a little bit more restrictive, right? And now you get a little bit more variance. Helping Upper Hand is actually really, really good to have on this Lilligant here, especially in this kind of meta. So I like that too. And at the same time, just gives you a fast Solar Blade user, fast close combat user. And then Raging Bolt here, again with the Assault Vest with Torkoal, you're going to do a little bit more damage. And then you have Weather Ball here, right? So that's also going to do damage along with Terra Fire here, which is great. Not only for your damage, but also your fairy resist, which is really nice. Throat Spray, Furgraph, again, hard-hitting special attacker and Trick Room. So lots of variants here. You got the fast mode here with the Lilligant, as well as like Flutter Mane, Walking Wake stuff, and you have the slow mode with Torkoal Eruption, along with the Trick Room on the Furgraph here, and the Raging Bolt can play in Trick Room as well. So either way, you got a lot of good things here. So shout outs to Kasim Thompson here for bringing this into the regional again. But we saw this a lot in the previous VR tours and some of the more limitless, the bigger limitless tournaments there. So it was something that was on other people's radar. Here from Corey, there's that team from Ryan that we saw earlier, again with the Urshifu here. This one has Roar Furgraph there, so nice little tech there. Covert Cloak Katarine, again, you don't like Snarl. Snarl is super annoying, so that's one way to help you get around it. And then again, Specs Torkoal is really what we want on this type of team here. Jesse's team has the Landorus over here, but again, still the same concept. Heat Rot Torkoal with Eruption, Yawn, and Helping Hand. Snarl Raging Bolt, right? Still a little bit more supportive. Covert Cloak Walking Wake. Again, you don't like the Snarl. That will help you get around the damage mitigation. And then the Lilligant here, again, for that fast mode. Again, we're dropping after you, and we're opting for the upper hand here, especially in Regulation F, where you stop those priority shenanigans. And then just Choice Specs Flutter Mane, super good. So again, the core is more or less the same. You're just alternating that last slot here and there. This one is a little bit more hyper offensive with a little bit of a Trick Room engine, right? You've got Whimsicott here with Fake Tier support, which is really strong with Raging Bolt, Torkoal, Chi, Walking Wake. You have a bunch of special attackers here. Encore is super annoying. Just be careful of your own psychic terrain. And then you still have the Trick Room mode with your Torkoal here. So again, the fast mode along with the slow mode here looks really good here. So you can just easily lead Whimsicott Chi, go for Tailwind, go for Heat Wave, especially Specs Chi hits like a truck. You add Beads of Ruin, and things are not going to want to be taking that. Raging Bolt here, along with Walking Wake. Now, again, you can always pivot in your Torkoal in and out. Eject Pack is really good, so this way, when you take that hit, then you're just able to pivot back out and bring it back in for later. It's not Eruption Torkoal. It's not what this Torkoal is meant to do on this team. It's meant to be supportive, right? With something like Helping Hand here. Just Overheat, again, you use that, and then you just get the heck out, right? So that's really the main benefit of using the Eject Pack when you get that stat reduction there, and you're just able to pivot out. Ignore what I said earlier about the damage. That's not what you wanted to do. And then Scorching Sands here is a tech there that we normally don't really see on the Torkoal. Usually, if you opt for the ground move, it'll be something like Earth Power there, but instead we have the Scorching Sands. Magnet, Raging Bolt here with Terra Electric. Now you add Beats of Ruin and or Fake Tier support. Hits like a truck there, so this is one way to utilize this kind of team. Jared, shout outs to you. Great job there. And then even this one here, right? Look at this. Torkoal here. Eruption Weather Ball, Helping Hand. So this one is meant to sweep under set Trick Room. That's why you have a Furgraph here. Cornerstone Ogerpon doesn't get nearly enough love as it does because built-in sturdy with the sash, right? That's what you really want out of this, you know, with the redirection support to be able to set up Trick Room. Snarl, Raging Bolt, Urshifu again doing Urshifu things, especially with the sash. It's looking pretty cool here. Nice idea here with this kind of team. So all in all, the Torkoal Sun teams are looking okay. I do want to point out one other team here that is actually kind of cool. These two 5-3 teams here from Mark and Elijah. Just look at this. This is another interesting way to play Cresselia Ursaluna, and I guess we'll cover it when we talk about Cresselia Ursaluna, which is the next part of this video. But you know, normally you would see Instant Amoonguss, but how about using Torkoal with Brute Bonnet instead? So now, again, you have the special sweeper along with the physical sweeper, and instead of Amoonguss, we have Brute Bonnet, which can benefit in the sun. Super cool idea. And then Walking Wake, again, gives you a fast mode here. I like that idea a lot. It makes a lot of sense. And honestly, it's one of my favorite teams that did not make top cut here. Even though it got 5-3 or 2 5-3 results, I really think that this is a team that should be on your radar, because when you pilot it correctly, it can do a lot of damage. And you know, Cresselia is super annoying this format because, again, you have all this recovery, you have Ice Beam coverage against stuff like Landorus and Raging Bolt, and you know, Walking Wake is slept on, in my opinion, as a special sweeper besides Raging Bolt there. So like we were just mentioning, the Ursaluna teams with Cresselia are also pretty good right now. You got to see Aaron Brock's team over there. And now let's look at some of the other variations. Again, this one still very solid. You have Instant, Amoonguss, Crest, Ursaluna as your Trick Room core. And in your fast mode, you know, with Flutter Mane and the Urshifu Rapid Strike. Maybe the best variant right now But again, there are other ideas because this is pretty much the same as what Aaron was using. This one right here from Grant, again, but instead of Amoonguss, we got Ogerpon Muzzwing, which is still fine. Helps against Urshifu and Rillaboom stuff to an extent. And right here, you have Raging Bolt with Snarl. So different type of dragon to use on this besides something like Rory Moon. But ideally, Raging Bolt can function in the Trick Room mode because, again, it's relatively slow. And then Booster Flutter Mane, again, you're a bit of a fast mode over there, so that makes sense too. Then we look over here, this one, again, so John Luke, you know, besides the Flutter Mane here, you can also use just straight up Raging Bolt. I like a dragon type on this team, you know, usually either Rory Moon and Raging Bolt here. You don't necessarily need the Flutter Mane. But this is also pretty solid. Again, you're still having the same core with these four. Then you add the fast mode with Ursh and then Raging Bolt here with Snarl support. So this is still okay. Then if you look at some of the other options, right, even here, Evan Scott, he was more or less doing the same idea here, which is, again, the way I like to play is just adding that slow dragon on this, or even at least a Tailwind option with the Roaring Moon here. So this way you can Earthquake next to it. And having that dragon type is also very, very beneficial on these Ursaluna teams. What else have we got here? Oh, but you know, besides the Cresselia stuff, and besides, you know, the Amoonguss, the Brute Bonnet idea with the Walking Wake, there is another idea that you can also use. Where is it? The Porygon idea. Let me just put Ursaluna here. And let's see like some other Porygon variants here, like this one here from Brandon. I think we covered this one a little bit earlier, but you know, again, the fast Tailwind mode here where you have Instant Amoonguss, Trick Room Setter in P2, and then Ursaluna, right? So this P2 can vary up with Cresselia, but you still have a Tailwind mode with Urshifu here, right? Rain Dance support to enable the Ursh, and then again, another thing that you can Earthquake next to. That's again the other variant that you can play with the Ursaluna stuff. This one right here, this is another one that you can consider, right? Ursaluna, you know, again with Ferrigraph instead, Incin, no Amoonguss, but instead add the Ogerpon here, and then you still have this fast mode here with Tornadus, but instead of Rain Dance Tornadus with Ursh, how about Sunny Day with Flutter Mane, right? That also is pretty cool. And then at the same time, this might even be Adamant Incin, but you also have the Fire type here that can benefit from the Sunny Day. So, you know, both of these can do hard-hitting damage with Ivy Culture and Flare Blitz. So actually, this is another pretty good team, so shout outs to them. But besides that, was there like another variant? Oh, I guess this one, yeah, we mentioned this earlier with the Iron Crown stuff over here. Danish Ali, again, that's that Tailwind idea that we saw earlier. But that was pretty much it for the Ursaluna stuff there. So again, it just pick your Trick Room Setter, add the Ursaluna, add Incineroar, and usually it's your Amoonguss or an Ogerpon for a grass type. And then your last two slots, do you want the Tailwind mode or do you not want the Tailwind mode? I also like to use a dragon on these type of teams, right? And either it be the Raging Bolt or this newer idea with Walking Wake could be a thing, but ideally the Flutter Mane and the Urshifu in the last two slots is where you want to go with something like this. All right, so how legit was Articuno Snow stuff going to be in this regional? There's a lot of 5-3s and 4-4s, but all in all, just 193 result here. And this was the Dondozo idea, right? So you had Articuno Ninetales adding to the Dondozo Tatsugiri, and then you had Roy Moon Gilmore here. Again, we saw this earlier, but you know, it's just sometimes it's not that consistent. Like again, Articuno and Ninetales can be annoying, but if you just change the weather, then they don't do a whole lot, right? Especially the Articuno, like it's got some bulk, but the damage is lacking. And now that Arcanine is around with the fire and the rock moves, you know, it's not so great, right? So all in all, they can still work, right? So for example, if we look at the typical Articuno team that's running around, you got the Arcanine, Landorus, Wellspring, Raging Bolt, right? Like this is pretty standard. Like if you want to play an Articuno Ninetales team, this is the one, right? Otherwise, you want to just use these two and add it to a core that is already like established. And ideally, the easiest one is the Dondozo core because these two, they're very limiting in your team building. So unless they have a team catered to themselves, they're not all that great. This one utilizes Prankster Thunderous, I think, right? Yep, it is. It's Thunderwave, Eerie Imp. We're on the Thunderwave bandwagon in this region, right? Weather Ball, Electric Train. This is actually a pretty cool team. And then you have Raging Bolt here. So again, you can enable the Raging Bolt and the Iron Hands too. And again, you can always change up terrain, from the opponent here, and then Arcanine here just makes sense here as well. So another interesting idea to go with that. That was from Parosen, right? Yeah, shout outs to Paro. I forget the mon that they were using in a couple of regionals ago. It escapes my mind very easily right now. It was a unique niche mon in the previous format. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they've used some interesting options in the past. So shout outs to Paro, great job here. This is that same Dondozo variant that is running around here from Eden. This one has physical manners. Let's look at this one here. All right, Ninetales, Articuno. Heatran, really good against Flutter Mane Chiyu stuff, by the way. And then Ogerpon, Wellspring, Raging Bolt here, right? Wellspring, really good support for Heatran and Landorus. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Again, you can lead Landorus, Articuno, spam Earthquake next to your flying type, and then pivot it back out for Ninetales, for example. So this is one way to really look at it. But all in all, not a great showing from Articuno besides the Dondozo team over here from Matt. So look elsewhere if you're looking to pick up a team in Regulation F. How about Rain? Rain was a little bit more of an underrated archetype in Reg F because now you have Urshifu that can do a little bit more damage with the Pelipper Rain here. And we saw that from Noah's team over here. But elsewhere, we didn't really see a whole lot. But there were some notable ideas here. So, if I look at this one here from Ronald, again, you got Pelipper, you got Archelodon here, you got Chenpao and Urshifu. That's your core right there. And then Serena is interesting, right? You just deny priority moves, and then it's also a grass type in the rain, so it can help you in that regard. And then you add Tinglu over here. Very interesting option there with Snarl, Whirlwind stuff. So cool idea, I guess. But at the very least, you can always start with this core with Ursh, Pelipper, Chenpao, Archelodon. And then from there, you can, go with stuff like Incin or Mungus, right? Or, go for a Trick Room mode there, like Noah Carney was doing over there. But all in all, not a whole lot of rain coming out from this idea here. But how about this one here? Again, from Damien, same idea. Look at this, same core, Chenpao, Urshifu, Pelipper, Archelodon. You add an Amoonguss, and over here instead of Incin, you have a Flutter Mane here, right? So something like this is to be expected. Not a whole lot from Rain. I'm very surprised that not as much Rain teams would have at least gotten some better results here. But some ideas to also try. This one right here. You could even consider Landorus on these teams because again, you've got the Rain. So now you have 100% accurate Sandsear Storms. This is also pretty traditional where again, you have the Pelipper, Ursh, Archelodon idea. Incinemungus is very clear backbone into these type of teams, right? Even going back to the previous format, except there was a Basque Legion, right? But now you add Landorus here. And then this also makes sense. You can also play the team like this if one so chooses. But all in all, looks like they're going to have to come up with something else because a lot of these Rain teams didn't really do well besides Noah Carney's team. Alright, so now let's take a look at some niche Pokemon options that we can find from this regional. Again, we always love the niche stuff here. So we've already seen a good result from Galarian Moltres. And then as we go down here, we see a couple options. How about Annihilate in this kind of meta here? So Choice Scarf 8 with Final Gambit. Again, it does have Defiant. So again, you can nuke something, remove it, take it off the board, and then set up Trick Room here, and then bring in your Bloodhound or Ursaluna. That's one way to play this type of team. So nice idea here from Marcus to be able to utilize the ape that way. Don't forget about stuff like Heatran. So let me just click this one here from Noah Bauman. Again, Heatran, again, like we said earlier, pretty good against Flutter Mane Chiyu ideas. And then, with Terra Bug, you just remove your ground weakness altogether. So I like this too. And then don't underestimate Choice Band Landorus. Again, it's another Intimidate version that you could bring besides something like an Incineroar if you've already got a fire type on your team and you still want to Intimidate. Landorus is your boy. So shout out to Noah. Good idea there. More Regidrago teams. How about Keanu? That's our guy, Keanu. Hello. Yes. Hyper offensive Regidrago stuff with Goldango makes sense here, right? And then you have the Heart Flame Ogre with Ursh. Again, nice aggressive Fire Water Grass Core. And then Rillaboom here. Again, just giving you fake out Surging Strikes ideas, right? And then at the same time, you can make Ogre upon Heart Flame hit harder because you have priority Grassy Glide now. No Swords Dance here, but again, that's okay. Choice Specs Goldango, again, instant offense. So very aggressive team. So shout out to Keanu. Great result there. 9-3. Really good. Okay. Basque Legion is something that you normally wouldn't expect to see now that Urshifu Surging Strikes is back in the meta. But this is an adaptability Basque Legion with Assault Vest. right? You've got Tornadus, again, with Landorus here. No Rain Dance here because, again, your adaptability, you are not, Swift Swim, and this is not Surging Strikes Ursh. This is just regular Dark Ursh. Trick Room mode here with Iron Hands. Clearly emulated Iron Hands, by the way, so doesn't want to get intimidated. But this is pretty good too. Nice, unique idea there from Riley Korn. I like it a lot, actually. As we go down the list here, again, we've seen a lot of these Roaring Moon and then Torkoal Sun teams with Iron Crown stuff. What else are we looking at here? More Articuno Roaring Moon stuff here. Then, as we keep going further down, again, that's the more aggressive team with the Gloomore Hyper Offense. Oh, this one right here. Yeah, I was looking for it. Luke Crow, look at this. Again, we forget about Iron Boulder and Mighty Cleave. I said Mighty Swing. Mighty Cleave there. Again, just like double the Urshifu effects here. Swords Dance, Iron Boulder, by the way. You've got the Ogre Pond Wellspring here. You've got the Entei. There's no Chenpao here, but that's okay. You still got Urshifu, and you got Flutter Mane, Raging Bolt here, right? E-Webs and Snarl support Flutter, Raging Bolt here with Icy Wind, Taunt Flutter. So a couple of support mons here to make sure your physical options are able to do what they're supposed to do. So this is pretty cool. Shout outs to Luke there for finding value in the Iron Boulder. John Luke, we've already seen already. Oh, this one right here. Sneasler. Okay. So what's really cool about this is the set, okay? Not necessarily the mon. Yes, you can make Sneasler work in this type of meta, but look at that set. Lumberry Sneasler, right? Fake Out Close Combat Dire Claw, of course. Then you add Terra Rock Slide, okay? And then, the shenanigans with Thunder Wave, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with like spores or burns, so how about you add the Lumberry, right? And that might be an item that might rise a little bit more just because people are sick of getting parried. So they may add the Lumberry here, but who knows? Might be a little bit too situational, but it still works here. You got the double genie idea. How about, oh, that's why. Look at this. Swagger Tornadus. Okay, now it makes sense. Swagger Tornadus with the Lumberry Sneasler. Give me that attack boost and let's go ham. Urshifu here, of course, doing what Urshifu's supposed to do. Oh, Calm Mind Raging Bolt here. No redirection here, but no fake out either. But oh, no. You got the Sneasler here. Okay, so this makes sense. Okay, I can see this working. Yeah, Andre's pretty cool team. Honestly, I like it. What else are we looking at here? Is there anything that stands out here? The Screen Tail, is that disable Encore Shenanigans? Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, good job, Eric. All right, if you want to play that way, great. Anything else that we can see that is noteworthy? There's that Basque Legion team yet again. There's Dylan Matthews. This one has a Wheezing here. Yeah, again, being able to take away abilities is annoying. So Neutralizing Gas, Toxic Spikes, Poison Gas, and then Chenpao, Urshifu, Dragonite there, pretty expected. Nothing too crazy there. Okie Dokie teams, again with Roaring Moon, is pretty cool there. This one, Iron Bundle. People forget Iron Bundle is 1 point faster than both Flutter Mane and Chenpao there. So you have the faster Icy Wind. And then Prankster Thunderous yet again, which is something that we saw from Paro. But here we are. Rain Dance, Eerie Impulse, no need for changing terrain. You got your Rillaboom here. But again, situational, yes. Can it work? Sure, because again, Rain Dance enables the Landorus here with Sinister Storm. And then, of course, you have Rain Dance here for the Urshifu here. That can also work relatively well. You got the Fake Out Boys here. So, interesting idea here. Pretty cool team. You made day 2. There's not really a whole much else you can really ask for. This one right here, this one has the Earthworm stuff. This pairs well with Earthquake from, Landorus and Tinglu. And then you also have the idea of the Fast Bulldoze here. And then coaching with the Zapdos again, which is something that we saw earlier. So this makes a lot of sense. This looks like the kind of core that we were looking at earlier with the physical spam, no gouging fire. But instead we have stuff like Earthworm and Landorus. Okay. So even though it got 5-3, I still pay respects to it. I think it can work decently. And then after that, these are just repeats of teams we saw. How about Mr. Pengy here, trying to make his Garganical work again with the Moringa Berry, okay? Gastrodon, pretty interesting idea. Makes sense in this format. Again, you are a ground type. It's going to do well into Raging Bolt. Yawn Pressure with Leftovers Protect is annoying, right? And then Grimmsnarl Thunder Wave, okay? But no Thunder Wave on Flutter Mane. Again, still alright. Chenpao and Taste Up. There's your physical duo there. Yeah, pretty cool team. Just a little bit unlucky in that final round, of course. What else are we getting here? Again, we've already previewed the other Ursaluna team with Torkoal and the Brute Bonnet there. I thought that was also pretty interesting. Latias teams, once upon a time in the first go around of Regulation F, Latias was pretty cool. It had pretty good bulk, it had tailwind support, but then too many threats rose up, and then it just didn't really pan out after that. And then the occasional Dondozo stuff with Gomora, Articuno teams, are gonna find him right here. Regice down here. Look at this from Aaron. Snow mode. Why use Articuno when you can use Regice? This is Ice Body Regice, by the way. All right, and then Hisuian Gouging. Look at this team. Alrighty, Aaron. Shout outs to you, man. Hydra is. Hey, we got Pikachu, man. Yo, listen, might as well. There's Raging Bolt running around. Let me throw in my Pikachu out here and do some stuff with Fake Out Nuzzle and Endeavor shenanigans there. Might as well there, right? Hey, 5-3 Pikachu. Hey, yo, 5-3 Pikachu result. You know, you gotta pay respects to that. Okay, all in all, so this one, not a whole lot of niche options that one might expect from this region, but we got to see a couple things, right, that, you know, might make a difference in certain matchups. But at the end of the day, what did we learn? There's a lot of archetypes that are viable, all right? Lots of teams that can do very well, and then lots of the same archetypes in the mirror matchup. They'll change up 1 or 2 slots to give them that edge in said mirror. But all in all, there's a lot of things that you can play right now. It's not all about Raging Bolt balance, okay? There's lots of teams to play. Again, you know what's running around right now with the Hisuian-Arcanine Flutter Mane stuff, but Iron Crown Psyspam is still good. The Torkoal Sun teams are okay. Roaring Moon stuff, again, it just won, are still good. Cresselia, Ursaluna, Trick Room teams are still pretty good. Dondozo, if you really like it, sure, you can definitely go for it. But the physical spam stuff with Galarian, Zapdos, the Dragonite, the Sinistra, the Chenpao, and then the Tinglu, that's also really good as well. And then if you really want to play hard Trick Room, that is also still okay right now. So all in all, lots of teams that are still very much viable. Regulation F trends in the upward direction. So if you're still interested in playing it, definitely give it a shot. We still have quite some time before Champions. All right, so that's going to do it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.